Naturally, I'm a Tottenham man, obviously. I can reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
The place is fantastic, the tradition of this club.
To be the manager of 3 cup-winning teams here, I'm so lucky, it's untrue.
Hotspur America podcast, airing every week during the English Premier League season.
What a glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. This great and historic football club. Joyful night down the Tottenham High Road.
Hotspur America, the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, I say! Schoolboy's own stuff.
I hate Arsenal, just hate them.
Oh, what a goal! Unbelievable! Oh, this is incredible.
We're the Yids in America.
Dempsey's there to tap in. What a fantastic run! He scored! And it's turned home, Eric Dyer.
This is your Hotspur America.
Episode 11, Season 2 of the Hotspur America podcast. Already having some laughs and fun as we get ready to start the show. Pretty intense week. Europa League with Anderlecht in Belgium. A lot of folks that we know went over and had a really smashing time. €1 beers and £2. I mean, it was ridiculously low priced, and people that went had a really good smashing time. Glad they did. And of course, the Bournemouth victory today. Lots to talk about, and with us is a guest and a friend of the show. Vass Koni has written articles for The Fighting Cock, has his own blog, and he's joining us today. Vass, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, Ken. Yeah, glad to be here. Very honoured to be with you guys.
Oh, it was a plan of ours to try to have you on with Rob a few weeks ago, but you were touring the Amalfi Coast and the rest of the Italian peninsula, along with...
Yeah, sorry, spousal duties meant I had to take my wife away for our wedding anniversary. That's why I couldn't make it, so my apologies for that.
Well, next time get your priorities straight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sam's with us again today. Sammy, how you doing, buddy?
Oi, I'm doing well. Good to be here. Good
how's Mama doing, man? You're getting close,
She's
right?
Ready, yeah. November 18th is the due date, so me bag is packed, as they say.
I hope they dress up the babies in little pilgrim outfits that time of the year. That would be kind of cute. Who knows? For all you go, UK, that's Thanksgiving here. And Simon, who's fetching a plane in about an hour, and is kind enough to stay with us and stick it out this week. Simon, how are you, buddy?
You make it sound like I'm doing you all a great honour, which no, it's what we do. I'm good, very good. Good to have Vass on.
Oh yeah, no, excellent. And Vass is a lifelong fan. Vass, how long have you been going to matches? When was the first one that you went to?
Ooh, I think my dad first took me. I must have been about 5 or 6, so that's going back a fair while now. I'm a similar age as Simon. I won't give the age away right now, but I
35? Wow.
Yeah, I probably caught the very end of the sort of 70s era with Martin Chivers and Alan Gilzine and the like. So it's been a while now, Ken. Yeah.
Beautiful. The Europa League match that we had against Anderlecht, obviously there's a lot of history that goes along with that match in terms of Europa League victory for us from the past. Do you have any recollection of where you were and who you were with during that, magical moment in Spurs history?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually blogged about it on the Fighting Cock the other day. I didn't make the first leg. I was still fairly young. European travel wasn't on the agenda, but for the second leg, absolutely. I was there. I was at White Hart Lane, and I've got to be honest, guys, it's an experience and an atmosphere that I've never seen recreated at the Lane. The ground that night was absolutely buzzing.
Where'd you sit?
I was on the shelf, not in my usual place, but it was standing back then, so we could just turn up at the turnstiles and pay and get in, believe it or not. And we're talking about a UEFA Cup final.
Kind of like the Emirates now, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's a few spare tickets going out here. But no, I took a day off work with a mate. We just killed the day, just spending some time playing snooker and the like, and then we got to White Hart Lane. It was sort of early afternoon. I can't remember exactly what time, 2-3 o'clock maybe. The sun was out, and there was queues forming already, so we just sat around outside, joined the queue until the turnstiles opened. And back then, once you got through the turnstiles, you were able to pretty much walk to whichever part of the stadium that you desired. So we made for the shelf, but already people were congregating. So I said to my friend, well, look, I tell you what, let's just stay at this end of the ground for now. And we took our spot right at the front of the shelf, and we just waited for the game to start. And it was a magical night, I've got to say.
What kind of you mentioned the atmosphere and how you've really never heard it recreated. What was so different? Is it just a buzz? Was it outside the ground, inside the ground, all of it?
I just remember inside the ground, Ken. I think there was about 48,000 in the ground that day, and
wow,
it was at the time when British stadia were going through a bit of a time with hooliganism, etc. So there was fencing up at the perimeter of the pitch. Felt a little bit claustrophobic, I suppose, but yeah, the ground was just heaving. I mean, 48 to 50,000 back then. You know, it wasn't uncommon to go to games and have the gates locked and people remain outside on really big occasions. But I'm sure they crammed a few extra in on that particular night. And I was actually, if you get a chance, have a look at the highlights on YouTube. When Graham Roberts scores the equaliser in the second leg against Anderlecht, the roar that went up, you know, I'm not ashamed to say it, but it still made me, it gave me a lump in the throat. It still made me well up. Just that moment, just experiencing the roar that came from the fans, that realisation at that moment that we were back in the game, that sort of relief, the sound that came from the stadium, is just something special, really was.
Now, Vass, for a frame of reference, were you at the '81 Cup final?
I was, yeah, '81. I was.
Well, the replay or the first.
Yeah, one? I missed the first one. Couldn't
Okay.
get to the first one. The replay in '81, I was 17, so I was still at school, and we heard that Man City hadn't taken their full allocation. A friend of mine rang me at home one night, and he says, Vass, Man City have sent some tickets back and they're going on general sale in the morning. So I said, okay, let's chance our luck. So we kind of bunked off school. We didn't go to school that day, but being in sort of sixth form, we could kind of get away with it. Made our way to the stadium. It was about 6 a.m. There was already queues forming. We joined the queue for our tickets. We went. The queue started moving at some point in the morning. We made our way around to where the ticket office were, and we were literally sort of 20 yards from the ticket office, and somebody shouts out and says, standing tickets sold out, there's only seats left. And to put you in the picture, seats back then, it was like £6 each, right, which is what, sort of $4, I guess, of your money. And me and my friends, we counted out our money, and we were short. Didn't have enough money for us to buy the tickets. So I says to the guys, okay, I've got a friend, she works just down the road. Just save my spot in the line, and I'll be back. So off I ran, just after 9 o'clock in the morning. She probably just got into work. I ran into her place of work. I was panting, I was out of breath. I says, Chris, I need £2. She looked at me, she's thinking, what the hell, where have you come from, you know? So I said, Chris, I need £2, just give me £2, I'll give it to you later. She was like, okay, there you go. She gave me £2, and I ran back, got to the queue, and I was panting like a good one after that, and I was standing by the side of the queue. Policeman goes to me, you all right, son? I says to him, yes, I'm fine, thank you, officer. Got in the queue, and we managed to get in and get our tickets, but the sad thing was, on that occasion, they were selling the tickets through some, like 3 different turnstiles, and me and my friends got separated, so we ended up with tickets in different parts of the ground. But 81 was my first experience of a final that included a live final that included Spurs, and it was my first experience of Wembley. So we got there that night, and the moment I walked into the stadium, I just had no hesitation that we were going to walk away with a cup that night. So 81 was my first experience at Wembley, Sam, and yes, I was there for the final, and it was just a magical evening.
Unbelievable. And then, so, all right, with that in mind, I mean, so you've been there personally for, a seminal moment in our history, and then 3 years later, there you are at the Lane. Does it make it any more special because it was at White Hart Lane, or is it just a different kind of special? Because, I mean, Wembley, and Simon, I'm sure it's the same way for you. I mean, I know you remember it. As a kid, you dream of playing at Wembley, and as an adult, going to Wembley. I mean, Wembley is just, that's a fixture, right, in English football culture. But being at home, did it make it any better, any different?
Yes, I think because there was just that feeling of we're in this together, and you were surrounded by like-minded people. The 81 experience at Wembley, whilst it was special because it was at Wembley, the fact that we had return tickets from Man City meant that we were sitting in an area that, although predominantly Spurs, was primarily Manchester City around us. So much so that when we were leaving the ground at Wembley that night, we were sort of ushered by the police to walk a certain route that took us in amongst the Man City fans. But being at White Hart Lane in 1984, I mean, I'll just refer you guys back to the sort of the YouTube video of the highlights. When you see that penalty shootout happening, whenever Anderlecht scored a goal, you could barely hear a pin drop because their fans were so vastly outnumbered. It was to have a final and a significant cup at stake on a European night at White Hart Lane. It was just a special evening, and the fact that it all came together and we did lift the trophy, it was just immense, really.
From the fans' perspective, when you watch the video that you're speaking of that the club put out, Mickey Hazard talks about they always expected they were going to win. He had this continual feeling within himself that says, this is just, the script is written, we're going to win. Birkinshaw had announced that this was going to be it for him. And he was going to be leaving the club. Obviously, with social media and the way things run today, that would be very common knowledge to everybody. Back in 1984, were the fans aware that Birkinshaw was going to leave, and did they have that same sense of destiny when that match was taking place?
Yes, I think at that time it had come out that it would have been Keith Birkinshaw's last game. So we were aware of what it meant to the club and its history at that time. And I guess there was an element of apprehensiveness in the minds of the fans because, bear in mind that wasn't our full-strength team on that night. We had our first-choice goalkeeper in Ray Clements wasn't playing. Our captain and talisman Steve Perryman wasn't playing.
Yeah, he was suspended.
Glenn Hoddle wasn't playing.
Yeah, Hoddle was hurt, right?
Ozzy Ardiles was only fit enough to make the bench. So it was, but we still felt that we had enough for the night, and thankfully we did. Birkinshaw leaving was just a tinge of sadness on what was a joyous evening, really.
And how apropos is that for a supporter to say, because this being the day, Tim Sherwood gets sacked by Villa, and it seems that no manager leaves on his own terms anymore. So to recollect that about Keith and to say, he was leaving on top and leaving on his own terms is quite apropos in terms of how that whole evening unfolded, how it ended, how Tottenham walked away with the cup. It's really kind of magical, really.
Yeah, absolutely, Ken. I think people underestimate the impact of Birkinshaw's departure to White Hart Lane and Tottenham Hotspur.